G'day guys, welcome to my RXY's V2 video. Today I'll be talking to you guys about NRL's Round 1 recap preview for 2022 guys, so let's get started. So starting off with that first match of that game, we see the Panthers going up against the Manly Sea Eagles. This game was absolute just instrumental. I tipped Manly for this one, by not by much, but I think it was either 4, 6 or 8, approximately around those numbers. But yeah, Manly didn't do really well in the first half and second half. Panthers just came out on top and just blew them across the park. I did not think that either of those were going to get a really good advantage. I just didn't think that this game was going to be a really good matchup, but it was just an absolute upset of this team to basically win for the home game advantage on this match. But it was 28 points to 6 in this game. Panthers are obviously a really good team, and they are the champions of the club. And what I do mean by that is the Panthers, they've been really good last year also too. They've been absolutely conceding a lot of points with those advantage of those games. But what I mean is the first round of this game this year kicking off, the Panthers absolutely did really well in this first game of this opening season to kicking off the NRL matches. Absolute really good of this match. I've been to Penrith Stadium. If you haven't checked my vlogs, go and check it out. It's in Penrith Stadium. I did vlog the Panthers versus Storm. Obviously in that game, but it was last year. But anyway, guys, it was an absolute good cracker of a game for Panthers and Manly Sea Eagles. But the only try that was scored was Carl Lawton, I believe that if it was. But yeah, well done from the Panthers for making a really good win against the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, the next game of this match, we see the Raiders going up against the Sharks. Now, in this match, I didn't think that this game was going to be a really good match. It was obviously tight because these two teams haven't really got much of players, because I know for a fact that Sean Johnson has left the Sharks to go to the Warriors. But in this game, the Raiders hasn't got Jamal Fogarty, which that means the number 7 for the replacement was Brad Schneider in that number 7 squad for the Raiders team to play for in that game. But what I do mean is this game was a definite recall, and I literally thought that the Cronulla Sharks came out on top to basically wanted to win that game, but unfortunately they didn't. I know they kicked a field goal in that match, but it wasn't really good enough for this side. But what I do mean about this side of this club, Sharks are a really good team, but they have got two new players, and obviously they've got like Nico Hines and Dale Finucane. Dale Finucane played really well, and also Nico Hines played really well also too. It was 24 points to 19 in that game, and really good advantage by the Sharks that made a really good win. The Raiders for making a really good win in this game, but the Raiders, they were a little bit off, and they were conceding a lot of losses usually in the history of the game. But sometimes the Raiders, they are a really good team, but since no Jamal Fogarty, they still basically won that game, but it was only just by, I'd say, 4 points in this match. But the Raiders, luckily, they came out on top to basically win that game against Cronulla Sharks. Now, the next game of this match, we see the Broncos going up against the Rabbitohs. Now, I have a lot to say about this game, and I was at the Leagues Club watching this match, and pretty much what I do concede about this game, it was really shocking game, and it was just absolutely horrible because it was very low scoring, and obviously Entertain House basically gave credit to basically predict that scoreline, to obviously say it's going to be a low-scoring game, and that did happen. But it was 11 points to 4 in this game, and luckily to myself that Kurt Capewell has kicked the field goal in that match to up it a little bit, only by 1. But in this game, the Rabbitohs, they are a really good team, but since Blake Taft didn't play in that game due to, I think, shoulder injury or leg injury, I believe it was either one of those two, that's why it was a late change for That's why it was a late change for Alex Johnston to come into that side, replacing Blake Taft in that side. But what I do mean about this club, the Rabbitohs, they have a lot to consider if they want to win like games of football. But going up against the Melbourne Storm, obviously for this week, they need to wake up. They need to concede a lot of points, and they need to be hungry for the ball. And if they don't, then the Storm are just going to be all over you, because the Melbourne Storm are a really good team. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this anyway. So the Broncos, they were absolutely really good in this game, but it wasn't really good enough to see a lot of points happening in that match. But no Adam Reynolds in that game, which that means I'd say Albert Kelly replaced him into that number 7 side of that team, because he was, I think, got COVID, and that's why he's not into that side, but he will be for this week's match anyway. So luckily the Broncos smashed the Rabbitohs 11 points to 4 in that game. The next game of that match, we see the Roosters going up against the Knights. Now, the Knights played absolutely really well in that game. Huge upset to see in this match, which I thought the Roosters were going to come up on top to basically beat the Knights, but it was obviously opposite. It was 20 points to 6 in that game. Average match to see that point going up into that higher level. But what I do mean about this game, the Roosters, they are a really good team, but they had a lot of players out, but then now they got returned into that side. But unfortunately, though, they didn't really play a very good game of football. But the Knights, I really didn't think that the Newcastle Knights were going to come out on top to basically win against the Roosters. But this game was just absolutely shocking to see a surprise for a huge upset of this game. And basically, I didn't think that it was going to be a huge upset to consider in this game, that it was going to be a very awkward situation. But the Newcastle Knights are a very good team, because obviously they have a lot of new players into that side, but sometimes they do struggle a little bit. But I really consider the Newcastle Knights in this year, they will be playing very good football anyway, since they have Adam Clune into that squad from the Dragons. But the Knights, basically the Roosters, I just really didn't think that the Roosters, they weren't going to be playing football at all. They were just not good at all, and I was just surprised on how the way the Roosters didn't play a really good enough game to really consider points against the Newcastle Knights in that match. Now, the next game of this match, we see the Warriors going up against the Dragons. Now, 28 points to 16 in that match was absolutely detrimental by the Dragons to see a huge upset into this match that really didn't consider for them winning. But I thought to myself, was the Warriors going to win? Unfortunately, they didn't, because how the way they played was absolutely devastating. But I know that they've got Sean Johnson into that side. He was from the Sharks, but he's going to have a lot of he'll have a lot of things to consider. But I reckon he'll get the use of playing with the Warriors. But he did play for the Warriors before. But since he came back, I reckon he'll need to aim up his game a little bit because obviously he is a really good player, but I didn't think for him he was going to play a really good game of football. But for the Dragons, since no Matt Duffy, Tyrell Sloan came into that side, in that fullback side of that team, he played absolutely really good. And he is basically like Matt Duffy, a quick player that can score tries easily. And what I mean is, like, the Warriors, they are a really good quality side, but unfortunately, since I tipped the Warriors and then the Dragons obviously won that game, it was basically hard to pick for that side. And basically, the Dragons just came out on top and blown the Warriors across the park. But it was just a hard game to decide on which team to basically go for. And that's why it was hard. This game was pretty much a hard match to really decide on who else to go for. But yeah, luckily for the Dragons, they won this game. The next game of this match, we see the West Tigers going up against the Melbourne Storm. Now, this game was absolutely good quality game, and what I do consider about this match was 26 points to 16 was absolutely really good for the Storm to really bounce back and have that first win of round one anyway. But since the West Tigers played a really good match, what I do mean about the West Tigers is they are a really good team. But saying that, they didn't play really well. Unfortunately, since every time they played, it wasn't really good enough football for them. But the West Tigers are a really good team, and since Oliver Gildart and Jackson Hastings came from the Super League to be into that side, I reckon the West Tigers will have a great year this year because Oliver Gildart is a really good player. And so is Jackson Hastings. He is an absolute top player. But unfortunately, though, the West Tigers did get their first loss against the Storm because the Melbourne Storm are a good quality team that they are pretty much hard to beat. And the Melbourne Storm, they haven't got Josh Addo-Carr anymore since he's moved to the Bulldogs. And it's going to be really bit difficult for the Melbourne Storm to build up their side for a bit, only because Xavier Coates is that number 5 side, replacing Josh Addo-Carr since he has gone to the Bulldogs. But what I do mean about this team, I reckon the Melbourne Storm will have a great year this year. I reckon they'll sit up to approximately, this is my final prediction, I reckon they'll sit up to maybe 4th place on the ladder, but I'm not too sure, either 4th or 8th. That's what I really consider. But at least, though, the Melbourne Storm, they are a really good team to beat the West Tigers. The next game of this match, we see the Eels going up against the Titans. Now, I have a lot to say about this game because, obviously, the Eels, they played a really good matchup, but the Titans, they were absolutely really good across the park in the second half, but in the first half, they weren't really that good, unfortunately. And what I do mean about that is, the Titans, they are a really good team, but they didn't play a really good game of football. But this is what I mean. BKR is one salty prick for saying that the Eels are cheaters. Mate, you're only going to play once, and the way you play a game is just how the way you play a match. And he obviously thinks that, Eels are cheaters, Eels are this, Eels are that. But the Titans, have a look at them. We beat the Titans. So shush your mouth and stop being a sook. But what I do mean about this game, since I was down there in that match, which I really did like for the Eels that basically won, because I didn't think that the Eels were going to win in this game, which I didn't think that they would, and it was going to be all over. But then once Mitchell Moses kicked 2 penalty goals, we won the game, basically. And yeah, it was one challenging game and it was approximately a tight matchup. And it was obviously 32 points to 28 in that game, and well, hell of a game. So go and check out my vlog. It's up on my RXYS V2 YouTube channel, so go and check that out. Yeah, it's basically really good. But yeah, really good matchup by the Eels to beat the Titans, and BKR stop being a sook. And finally, the next game of this match, we see the Cowboys going up against the Bulldogs. Now, I was basically on my way from, what was it? Combank Stadium in Parramatta for that game. And I was basically watching it in the car. But I just thought in that game was absolutely very poor by the Cowboys. And obviously the Bulldogs, they were coming out on top to not let the Cowboys basically score in that game. But I feel so sorry for Nick from Australia, because he obviously goes for the Cowboys, and I wouldn't not feel like he will get upset. Like, he probably will get upset if the Cowboys obviously lose. But I feel so sorry for him. And the Cowboys are a really good team, since they've got Chad Townsend and Tom Dearden. But Tom Dearden isn't really good of a player, and I've been watching him a lot, and he isn't really good of a player since he came from the Broncos. But Peter Hiku, I haven't really seen him played in this game. But for Chad Townsend to basically play a really good matchup, this game was absolutely flawless. Very poor, and one hell of a fight. But obviously for the Bulldogs, they came out on top to not let the Cowboys score any tries of that game, but they only got one, which that means the score was 6 points to 4 in that game. Very, very, very low scoring game this was. I was very surprised on how the way this game was going to turn out, but I literally thought, was the Bulldogs going to really have a good game to put a lot of points on against the Cowboys? But this game was very poor, but luckily for the Bulldogs, they only just won by 2 points. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I'll be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care guys. Stay safe and have a good one. Plus, let's get up to 300 subscribers. We're sitting on 240 anyway. So let's get up to that. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.